I founded Kilchoman Distillery in 2005, and I think if anyone thinks it's an easy task to start a new distillery, it's very much mistaken. It takes a lot of hard work, passion, commitment, and a huge amount of resource in terms of money. But now, after 14.5 years, we have made great strides, and we're now standing in our new still house, which we completed in April, May of this year, which allows us now to double production from 240,000 litres of alcohol to close to 500,000. So that's a big leap forward for Kilchoman, and we're delighted with the position we find ourselves in. For the first 4 or 5 years, it was all about fighting fires and making sure we had enough funds to continue production. And now we can concentrate on what we're very good at, which is selling and marketing Kilchoman single malt around the world. I'm looking forward to coming to Whisky Live in a few weeks' time and showcasing our releases to the French market. And in my hand I've got a glass of the special release we've done for Whisky Live. It is a single cask from 2011, cask number 621 of 2011, and it's from a first fill sherry hogshead. And you can see from the colour, it's a lovely bright, deep colour. And on the nose, you've got that wonderful sort of sherry influence, the spice and the cloves, cinnamon, and also the peat smoke at the back of the palate. I really highly recommend this. This is a cask strength, and I think it's one of 250 odd bottles that will be available at Whisky Live. Have a great day, and we look forward to welcoming you to the stand at Kilchoman.
Hi, my name's George Wills, part of the Wills family here at Kilchoman Distillery, tasting your 7th anniversary bottling, which has been matured for 7 years in an Oloroso sherry hogshead. Oloroso sherry hogshead, slightly smaller than the sherry butt, so you get that more impact from the sherry, and that's definitely noticeable on the nose when you nose your lovely cask here. For me, I enjoy tasting the whiskies out in the natural Islay weather. Here I am outside our brand new kiln, enjoying some typical Islay August weather. Islay is not only famous for its distilleries, we have also had the most consecutive days of rainfall in the UK. So I hope you are enjoying your whiskey in nice weather too.
Hi there, Peter Wills here from Kilchoman Distillery, and I'm standing on the malt floor here at the distillery, where we've got 4 tons of barley at the moment sitting on the floor. And this used to be very much part of my role at the Kilchoman when we first started, and it was a very small team, and obviously me and my brothers and all the family were here, and it was left to me as the youngest brother of the 3 to often get shoveling and raking and turning the malt, which wasn't all that much fun back in the day. But fortunately now I am more of an ambassador role, a sales role at Kilchoman, where I tend to do more travelling and ambassador role and talk about Kilchoman and spread the word of Kilchoman rather than spreading the malt here on the floor, which I'm not too unhappy about at the moment. But I've got here in front of you the 7-year-old hogshead, sherry hogshead, that we bottled for the Maison de Whisky, and it's a beautiful whiskey at 7 years of age, with all those sort of sherry influence that comes in with that smaller hogshead compared to the bigger sherry butts. So you've got that great, dark fruit, rich of the sherry note coming through, the light fruit, which is very much a Kilchoman character, and of course that Islay peat as well. It's not a sherry bomb, it's not real intense or too sweet or too overpowering. It's a really good balance that allows that Kilchoman sort of light fruit and light smoke to come through on the palate, as well as those sort of typical sherry notes, as I mentioned, that raisiny sort of dark fruit, that also dark chocolate, peppery nature that comes in there as well. But a beautiful whiskey that can be enjoyed at any time. I think it's a pretty wet and wild and windy day here at Kilchoman. It can be enjoyed then, it can be enjoyed in the sun, it can be enjoyed whenever you want, really, because it's not too heavy on the smoke or the peat. It's not a real big smoky whiskey, big earthy whiskey. You don't have to have a campfire and be sitting down ready and prepared to drink it. It's a light smoke, mixed fruits, and that richness from the sherry. So it's an anytime whiskey, but personally I like to drink it not long after I've beaten my brothers and my dad. That regularly happens at golf. So I take a little victory sip of a nice sherry cask Kilchoman, and it usually goes down a treat. I can remember tasting some of my first Kilchomans back in the day. When we first started, I was about only 15 years old, so I was a fairly young ambassador for Kilchoman and young whiskey drinker, but I got into it fairly quickly when I was 15, and used to sneak around the distillery and have a little taste of a few of the releases that were going around. Probably shouldn't have been doing it at 15 or 16 years old, but I managed to find my way to a few bottles around the distillery, and I've been hooked ever since. So hopefully you feel the same when you have a little taste of this brilliant whiskey here. And it's cask strength, so 58, 59% alcohol, these cask strength whiskies, but they slip down pretty well to me. So Slàinte mhath, and hope you enjoy it.
Hi guys, James Wills here from Kilchoman. I've been asked to do a quick video about the latest single cask which has been bottled for La Maison de Whisky. It is a 7-year-old Oloroso hogshead. Have a look at the colour, absolutely beautiful colour. This has been bottled as a single cask, so it is the whole cask, only bottled for La Maison de Whisky. As I said, it's a 7-year-old matured only in an Oloroso sherry hogshead. This is a hogshead that comes from our broker in Jerez, a gentleman called Miguel Martin. He has fantastic casks, and these hogsheads are slightly smaller than the butts that we normally buy from him. So these are, you know, the size means that there's more contact with the oak, so the sherry influence is imparted into the whiskey that much quicker. So you can see, as I said, the colour, beautiful, dark, rich colour. And on the nose you get all of that typical sherry influence coming through. You know, the raisins, the spice, the cinnamon sweetness, but that balances really nicely with the typical Kilchoman character of peat smoke, of maritime peat smoke, and that real citrus sweetness as well, which cuts through and balances beautifully with the sherry influence. This is bottled at natural cask strength, so after the 7 years in the cask, it's bottled at 58%. So we've lost a bit of strength there, but that sherry really binds it together at that strength and gives you a nice balance between the power and then also that sherry influence really just rounds it out nicely. So it's not, even though 58% sounds very strong, it is a nice power. And I would enjoy this typically after my daughter. I have a young daughter, she goes to bed at about 7 o'clock, hopefully, every evening. And I would normally pour myself a large dram of this, collect what I can from the fridge. So a sherry cask, you know, it has a slight sort of cured meats, dried meat leatheriness to it almost. And that pairs beautifully with things like you know, cured meats. The citrus pairs very nice with cheeses, particularly blue cheese or something with a bit of power, a bit of sort of funk to the cheese. But then also that sherry richness works very well with dark chocolate. But also, you know, you could pair this with meats, you know, maybe steak or anything that has a big, rich, bold flavor. It's not going to pair so well with maybe sort of fish or lighter dishes. If you were having something slightly lighter or more with citrus in it, I would recommend pairing that with Mako Bay. But you know, this sherry cask, big, rich flavors, you know, all of this stuff you see on the board is gonna work nicely. So fingers crossed my daughter keeps on sleeping, and Slàinte.